and prosecution. They were all convicted. Most of them were sentenced to death. The average trial and the average time of sentencing was 2 minutes. Well, you say, how horrible, how horrible. Well, what's so horrible about that? You come into a camp, you see the dead bodies there, you've got the officers, you put them on the stand, and they sat in like the first 3 rows here with a number on them, just like this, number 27, number 28, tied around their neck. The officers in charge would say, are you number 27? You stand up, are you Herr Schmidt? You've been accused of participating in atrocities and murder and mistreatment of prisoners, blah, blah, blah. What do you have to say? I was only carrying out orders. I'm innocent. Anything else to say? No? Sit down. Next. Go on to the next one. How long did that trial last? 20 seconds? The next one, same thing. You run down the list. Okay, the court will now be adjourned. They go to the next room. 2 minutes later, they come back. All defendants are found guilty, sentenced to death. Whoops, trial's over. Well, the Army seems to have forgotten about that too, just as well. Just as well. It's not something we talk about, nothing we're very proud of. There were no high principles established. But when I came back to Nuremberg, it was quite a different story. The International Military Tribunal, where Justice Jackson was the chief representative for the United States, was in full swing. The United States had decided to have 12 subsequent trials to try the next hierarchy of German society, because you cannot conduct a war like that without the support of the industrialists, the military, the Foreign Office personnel, all of the doctors for medical experiments. Somebody asked me to talk about doctors. And so the idea was to try this next higher level in order to show how it's possible for a society to commit that type of atrocity. A civilized, intelligent society as Germany was, and yet engage in this wholesale slaughter. And that was the purpose of those trials. And in due course, I was appointed the chief prosecutor in one of those 12 trials, known as the Einsatzgruppen case. Nobody's ever been able to translate that. Einsatzgruppen means action groups. And we had captured the records of the Einsatzgruppen, and they listed in which towns they were operational, into Poland and the Soviet Union, who was the commander, how many troops were involved, and they boasted about how many people they had killed. For example, Babi Yar. We never heard the name Babi Yar then. A ravine outside of Kiev. 33,771 Jews reported murdered in 2 days, 29 September 1941. That's 10 trade centers, to give you some idea of the magnitude. And we've got the officer in charge, and we've got his deputy, and we've got their statement of how many they killed. And by totaling, I had over 1 million people killed. I was then 27 years old. I knew criminal law. I had gotten a scholarship at Harvard for that. I persuaded my boss, Telford Taylor, who was the chief of counsel for those 12 trials, later my law partner, that we had to have another trial put on. It hadn't been planned. And he said, well, if you can do it in addition to your other work, you can have it. And I was chief prosecutor in that trial, which was certainly the biggest murder trial in history. To give you some idea of what it was in practice, I rested my case after 2 days. I didn't call a single witness. I didn't want to have any witnesses because witnesses are mistaken and confused, and they tell the wrong story. And I didn't need witnesses. I had the best witness, the documentary evidence of their own trials. And I presented that. I rested the prosecution's case in 2 days. The defense went on with their alibis and lies for about 5 months. All 22 defendants were convicted. 13 of them were sentenced to death. 6 of them were SS generals. I selected defendants because of their rank. There were no enlisted men tried, and their education. Some of them, most of them had doctor degrees. Some of them had 2 doctor degrees. And let me just to give you a feeling, because I want to cover things which you will not hear elsewhere. The chief defendant in my case was a man by the name of Otto Ohlendorf, general in the SS, father of 5 children, Dr. Otto Ohlendorf, doctor of economics, very intelligent man, very able man, and reasonably honest in that society. And I asked him to explain, how is it that your unit, under your direct command, killed 90,000 Jews and gypsies and other opponents of the Reich? And he explained it. And he explained it in very clear and cogent terms, as if to say, I'm explaining it to you. Are you stupid? Don't you understand? He said, we did it in self-defense. Self-defense, you attack France and Belgium and Holland and Norway and Poland and Russia. Where's the self-defense come in? Well, he said, we believed we knew, that the Bolsheviks were planning to attack Germany. And so we had to anticipate that. And therefore, in self-defense, we had to attack first. Well, why did you kill all the Jews? Well, we knew that the Jews were sympathetic to the Bolsheviks, so of course you have to kill the Jews too. And the gypsies, why did you kill the gypsies? Well, the gypsies, they played both sides of the street, so you couldn't trust them, so you have to kill them too. And why do you kill the children? Why do you kill the little children? Thousands of them. Well, if they grow up and they know that we've killed their parents, they're going to be enemies of Germany, and we're interested in the long-time protection of our country, and therefore we have to kill the children as well. As if to say, isn't that quite logical? Yes, it is quite logical. It's just as logical as when the Einsatzgruppen got through massacring over 1 million people, they thought it was going to be a quick job. They didn't quite use the term dunk, you know, slam dunk, but they thought it was going to be a quick job, and they found out before they got to Stalingrad it wasn't so easy. And it doesn't make much sense to just load up the people and march them out and beat them out to the woods and then shoot them and drop them into a ditch. Some of them might be usable. So you use concentration camps. You send them outside by railroad, gather them up, and that was Eichmann's job. Someone asked me a question about Hannah Arendt and Eichmann. To round them up someplace outside of Germany, preferred near a railroad yard somewhere, and then as they come off the trains, you just sort them out. And those who look like they're able to work, you save them, and you work them to death. The rest of them, burn them. And when you get through first extracting their gold teeth, stripping off all their clothing, melting them down in a furnace, using the soap that is made from the fat, using their hair for mattress stuffing, that is an efficient use of the human body and an efficient way to protect the Third Reich from all of the terrible horrors. I tell you this in this detail, and it may sound matter of fact, to show you how completely horrible all of that is. Now, where did that leave me? Somebody wanted to know, how did I react to that? Well, I suppose the trauma of that experience still rests with me. I knew the mass murderers. I knew their mentality. I never saw any remorse on the part of any of them. None. They considered themselves heroes, fighting a noble war. Now,